So welcome back to Ask Me Anything, where we're continuing our talking, where we are continuing to talk about grief, loss, and healing. I'm Mary Margaret Murphy, and today is a particularly meaningful day. It's Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day. Across the world, families are participating in the International Wave of Light, lighting candles in remembrance of the babies they've lost. We honor those families, their children, and the grief today. This month, in honor of Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Month, we've been focusing on the topic of grief. Last week, we started our conversation about Worden's 4 tasks of mourning, which helps to guide us through the grieving process. We talked about the first 2 tasks, accepting the reality of the loss and working through the pain of grief. If you missed the episode, I encourage you to check it out, as it sets the foundation for what we're discussing today. Joining us again is Laura Aguilar of the Center for Reproductive Loss. Thank you again for joining us, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love being here.
I hear you have some exciting news out of Quebec today.
Yes, actually, today is the first official acknowledged Infant Loss and Awareness Day here in Quebec.
That's awesome.
Yes, it's amazing. Thanks to M&A Desiree McGraw and a group of amazing women who made this possible. Today we can, be acknowledged, being heard, being seen, and it's just a very, very special day for all of us.
Wow, that's so wonderful to hear. Well, then this is be perfect then today for us to be diving into the last 2 tasks, adjusting to the environment where the deceased is missing and emotionally relocating the deceased and moving on with life. So these tasks can feel like some of the hardest steps to take, but they're crucial in the process of healing. So Laura, let's start with the 3rd task, adjusting to an environment where the deceased is missing. I mean, this might mean different things for different people, but ultimately it's about reshaping your life in the absence of your loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah, literally is the impact that the role of the disease has in the survivor, in a way to say. So what impact has, the passing of our babies in our life?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very hard, of course, and I think that it takes a lot of time to do this, because you have to go through so many things. But also, I think the thing is that it involves life changes also,
Mm-hmm.
and this could range like from daily routines, to even the change of our worldview, and it's literally navigating these changes and adjusting to the world without our loved one. And
Mm-hmm.
within this include, for example, a lot of internal adjustments. One of the most important that I found is the who I am, in the identity, who I am.
Right.
Unfortunately, I feel like pregnancy losses, some of them are very ambiguous, because some of us, we never get to meet our babies, really.
No.
For those women who have miscarriages, it's really hard, to feel the loss of someone that you never met. So I feel like that is a little bit harder, you
Mm-hmm.
know in terms of trying to adapt to that, because a lot, like a thing that happens, that you know that you should know, is that it's not just the passing of our babies, is it's the hopes and dreams that you have for that baby, like all the
Right.
things you were going to teach him or her, and how you're going to dress him, and
Mm-hmm.
all these things also involve, and they change. So I think that we experience a lot to self-esteem, particularly in this stage.
Mm-hmm.
And also something that, you know they are internal changes like this ones, they are external changes, like, for example, all the new roles that you're going to have to be filling in. For example, not partic- it could be, of course, in pregnancy loss, but for example, if my husband dies, I have no idea about taxes or
Mm-hmm.
finances, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like handy things. So the thing is that the person will have to adjust to this new absence, and I think that in the presence of pregnancy loss, we'll have to adjust to this new me, you
Yeah.
know And I cannot imagine how hard it must be for a woman who had already, their rooms of the baby and their cribs and
Oh,
the
yeah.
clothes, and it's this incredibly shocking moment. And
Hmm.
in that, it also, you have spiritual changes also, right? Like,
Hmm.
why did this happen to me? Like,
Yeah.
values, beliefs, like, it's a whole tremble of everything, it's really hard, and it's really shocking, it's very overwhelming. And it's also like very easy to just give in to this immensely grief, and it's very hard.
Right.
So I think that what Warden really wants to say with this is that feeling all that and try to adjust to that grief and to that pain, and to move on,
Right.
you know
Move on or move forward with it.
exactly, move forward,
Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, move forward with it. Because, and you mentioned like spiritual adjustments too, and that can
Yeah,
be the toughest probably
yeah.
because again, we question where our place is in the world. And,
Yeah,
and you're right, we have all these hopes and dreams for that baby. And, for some families, if they've lost a baby to SIDS or anything, you've
mm,
say anything, I'm sorry, if they've lost a baby to SIDS or SUID, like you're right, the room is already, you've got the clothes, you've got a routine, you are, and all that routine is now broken. How does a
yeah.
family adjust with that?
It's so hard. I think that it's so hard. I don't think there is like a way of adjusting to it. I feel like it's just incredibly difficult and shocking, and of course it's like, why me? Like,
Yes.
why did this have to happen? Like, why to my baby? Why to us? Like, it's just such a every time I talk to families that have gone through something like this, it's just extremely
Yeah.
there's no explanation for it. You know what I mean?
No.
And of course, faith, beliefs, values, you know, tremble.
Hmm.
And I think that it's just talking about it. Between the couple, I would say, support each other, understand
Hmm.
that each one will grieve differently,
Right.
like, oh, he doesn't say anything, he's never like, he doesn't cry, or he doesn't like me crying, or she cries all the time, and she's
Yeah.
like, like she's not getting out of bed, and well, yeah, like, it's very hard. So
Hmm.
I feel like, also be patient and compassionate to your to your partner, and understand that,
Right.
they grieve differently, they come from a different background, from different place, and that is the way that they need to express their pain,
Yeah.
and to talk about it, to find support. I would say to find support with the peer group support. So it's very good, because they know what you're saying, they
Right.
understand
What you're going
vividly
through.
what is
Yeah.
happening.
Actually, you
Yeah,
just you just brought up what I was just going to mention, is that it's so important to find support, whether
yeah,
it's through a counselor or peer-to-peer support. That and I know here in Canada, that that can be difficult because
yeah,
um, we heard, this was several years ago, that, some cases you're waiting 6, 9 months to find someone or to
yeah,
be able to get in to speak to
yeah,
someone.
yeah,
So the earlier you start looking for support, the better. But of course, we, understand that it can be difficult finding someone
yeah.
that you can speak to. And then also reaching out
Yes.
and trying to find those peer-to-peer groups where you can
Mm-hmm.
actually speak to someone who's gone through something similar that you've gone through.
Yeah.
And you're not going to, you won't feel alone, in that you have someone that you can rely on that's been through that process.
Yeah, yeah, and actually there's research in trauma, actually, that people feel relief when they resonate, when they feel, when others resonate with their pain or what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that, yeah, I would encourage them to find a support group, whether it's with Baby Breath, whether it is with the Center for Reproductive
Mm-hmm.
Laws, like
Sure.
whatever they need, wherever they need it, I would say that that is crucial.
Mhm. And I think we should just remind your listeners, there is no cost if they go through you or they reach out to
No.
your, yeah. So that's
Yeah,
good
we
to
have
know.
peer support groups in French, English, and Spanish, and there's no
Wonderful.
price. Yeah.
Wonderful. Laura, let's go on to the fourth task, which is emotionally relocating the deceased and moving on with life. So this doesn't mean leaving your loved one behind, but rather finding a
Yeah.
place for them in your heart where you can
Yeah.
continue your life while carrying their memory with you. So talk to us a
Exactly.
little bit about that.
Yeah, it's literally like find a place of our baby in our thoughts, and I mean, Worden put it like this, like completing this task would be finding a healthy balance between cherishing that memory and moving forward with life.
Mhm.
So it would not be like okay, forgetting your baby or moving on, or it would be literally just after all the storm have happened, this immensely overwhelming storm, we start walking again,
Mhm.
and with our baby in our hearts. So I think that this is um this is what Worden literally means with this one.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean forgetting.
No.
It just means finding a place for the disease in our life where we can move on, uh, and continue our healing process. Because I do think that, for me, I feel like the healing process is forever, right? Like I don't I,
Mhm.
I don't think that, because every time we see something, crying may come. Today's a very emotional day. You and me are very busy today. We're gonna be
Yeah.
everywhere, and you hear people talk about it. Every time I hear testimonies, every time I hear women who open their hearts and tell their stories, I cried,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that you are back to where you were. It's just,
No.
I feel it's a way of walking with him, like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
in you. It will never leave you,
No.
it will never leave you, your partner, your family, your kids. If you have other kids, older brothers or
Mhm.
sisters, that baby will always be part of that family.
Family.
And I
Yeah.
think that honoring that, with whatever ritual that the person may have, the family may have, whether it is to go visit him at their burying place, or maybe planting a tree, or
Mhm.
maybe go and have ice cream for him, or I don't know,
Yeah.
like the family could do something about that. But it's there,
Yeah.
and it's remembered, and I feel like that is a very, very special part of the healing process in life.
Right.
Because as we talked last week, it's really silenced and taboo,
Mm.
and don't talk about
Yeah.
it, and you'll be fine, and you can get pregnant, and you'll have another kid, but being openly about it
Mhm.
with your husband, wife, partner, kids, children, I feel like it's really healing,
Yes. Yeah.
and,
And I
and
think you're right. Finding the rituals, like whether it's around the birth,
yeah,
their birthday, or if there is no birthday, is it picking a day that you can, honor them
hmm,
and having those routines, whether you're right, like planting a tree. I know when my niece lost her baby boy, we named a star after him.
oh
And, so those are things,
yeah,
that families can do that you
yeah,
can help with the process. And you're right, today, of course, today being the wave of light, across Canada, around the world, this is a day that many families are taking the time to remember, they're lighting a candle in memory. There's many organizations that have planned events around this,
yes,
whether it's a walk. I know Baby's Breath, we have our walk today. There's runs, there's in-person events. There's also Zoom events. You know, we've had to do that last couple of years, but it's so important to connect with that community. And I know
Yeah.
it's hard initially in the beginning, but you're right. I think as you move through the grief and you find that community, it can help with those days. And yes, those days you're going to cry. I know I'm going to cry today.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay. I don't know why we're so worried about someone seeing us cry. But it is so important that you take the time and you honor yourself and you honor your journey that you're going through.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Laura, thank you again. Grief, as we said in the past, grief is a journey and it has no clear endpoint. Today, of course, as we mark Pregnancy and Infant Loss Awareness Day, we recognize that the journey is different for everyone. Worden's Four Tasks of Mourning provides a guide, but remember, there is no timeline, no right way to grieve. So if you're lighting a candle for International Wave of Light, know that you're part of a global community that sees you, honors you, and walks alongside you in your grief. As always, Baby's Breath is here to support you. You're not alone in your journey. If you found today's episode helpful, or if you know someone who might, please share it. Thank you for joining us today on this important day of remembrance. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.